Programming made possible by the Lawrenceburg-Anderson County Tourism Commission, celebrating our spirits. The Georgetown-Scott County Tourism Commission, Georgetown, Kentucky, pure small-town charm. And West Banco. Thank you for your support.
Did you know Kentucky has more navigable miles of water than any other state in the U.S. except Alaska?
Is Alaska still a state?
Includes 90,000 miles of streams and dozens of rivers.
It's also quite famous for some other liquids, those which flow from a barrel, that being beers, bourbons, and wine.
Many of the world's best-known distilleries can be found right here in the Bluegrass State, and interestingly enough, pretty darn close to many of our lakes, rivers, and streams.
We're here to take you on an expedition of the secrets and histories of our intricate waterways while visiting Kentucky's distilleries, breweries, and wineries.
I'm Carrie.
And I'm Kyle. And we're two Kentuckians who are pretty proud of our state and want to share a sip of what the Commonwealth has to offer.
Well, hello there, Miss Carrie.
Kyle, how you doing?
I don't know, you've got me on a really tall bridge over some water somewhere in Kentucky. You tell me what's going on.
Well, Kyle, below us is the Kentucky River, and we're 240 feet above it on the Young High Bridge.
That's pretty high. Aren't we normally down in by the water or on the water in your boat or something? Why do we,
We are, but this is a pretty special bridge, Kyle. This bridge was built by the Southern Railroad in 1889, and it opened bourbon to the rest of the world.
Well, that is pretty special. You know what? And it's nice that you mentioned bourbon, because I need to go find some bourbon, and I believe that here in Lawrenceburg there's quite a bit. So I'm going to change before it starts to rain and go do that.
No, Kyle. There's something else that makes this bridge really special, and I'm going to introduce you to a friend who's going to explain it to you. You've got time for it. Hey, Doug.
Hey, what's up?
Meet my friend Kyle.
Hey, Kyle, I'm Doug.
How you doing, Doug?
I'm with Vertigo Bungee.
That's what your shirt says.
Yep.
Well, Doug, tell me a little bit about how you came to bungee jump off this bridge.
Our history goes pretty far back, early 90s. We were basically bootleggers of bungee jumping. So one of our partners that was from here located the bridge, was able to find the owner, and oddly enough, the owner was willing to sell it, and we were willing to buy it.
So you bought this bridge? You all own this bridge?
Yep, we bought this whole section of rail line.
I had no idea you could buy a bridge. That's fantastic.
Yeah. You ready to get hooked up? I got
hooked
this,
up. I'm already married. I can't. Can't, but I appreciate that.
I got a challenge from your friends in Lawrenceburg.
Awesome. I wonder what this could be.
Challenge. Looks like a wet envelope to me.
Yeah, mine got a soggy in the rain this morning.
Rain.
All right, let's see what they got for us.
It's a wet piece of paper. Even better.
All right, it says, thanks to this medicine, we survived Prohibition even though we weren't sick. Find a piece of this history to cure what ails you. Were people bungee jumping before Prohibition? During Prohibition?
They probably should have been.
Yeah, seriously.
I don't know, Kyle. I guess we'll have to figure it out later today.
Whatever.
When our head clears after our jump.
Our what?
We're jumping, Kyle.
Yeah, we got gear that'll fit you perfectly.
Off this?
Yep.
Yeah.
You have to catch me.
Come on.
Was insane.
Hey, how you doing?
Hi.
Hi, I'm Carrie.
Hi, Carrie. I'm Brent. I'm the master distiller at Four Roses.
Well, that's cool. Would you like to take a paddle with me?
Well, absolutely.
Climb aboard. line us up. Pretty good. Yeah, a couple strong strokes on the other side, Here we go. Swing us around here. Woo! Brent, this is a beautiful river.
It is, isn't it?
How does the water, what do you use the water for?
Pretty much everything in the distillery. It's the water that we use in our fermentation. It's the water that we use for our steam that we use in the distillation. We use it for cooling water. Pretty much without this river, we couldn't make Four Roses Bourbon.
Is the Salt River the reason that Four Roses is right where it is?
Yes, and there have been distilleries on this site for since the 1800s. Those distilleries used to always be located at the mills where they would mill the grains. So as you know, mills are always located right there on rivers, on water sources, so it's very convenient. They can mill the grains, and you also have the water source for the actual production of the bourbon. Yeah, we're just finishing up a doubling of our capacity. And it's funny you talk about water. When we decided that we had to expand, we knew that the easiest thing to do would be to go off-site and build something, a greenfield project somewhere else. But because of the water, because of the location, we knew that if we moved off-site, we'd risk the quality. We might not get the same quality of Four Roses off the still that we expect. That's the biggest ingredient that goes into bourbon, if you think about it. Of course, every piece is important, the rye, the corn, the barley, the grains, the yeast, but the majority of what goes into bourbon is all water.
Is there something special about the water in the Salt River that makes it good for bourbon?
Oh yeah, the water in this river is perfect. It has, of course, like all rivers in Kentucky, a lot of limestone. Of course, you get runoff water, but the majority of this water is coming from springs, which means it's run through the ground. If you know about Kentucky, we sit on a layer of limestone, and limestone is very good for the production of bourbon. It imparts the calcium carbonate that is good for the yeast. So a nice hard water with the influence of limestone helps create Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey.
Brent, I think Kyle is supposed to meet you at the distillery. You want to paddle on up and give him a tour of Four Roses?
Oh, sure, Carrie, that sounds great. Let's head up that way.
Sounds great.
This is a pretty fantastic spot you got set up out here. Where are we at? What's going on?
This is Lover's Leap, Vineyards and Winery in Lawrenceburg, Kentucky.
There's a story behind that name, I assume.
Yep. This place was named from the original owner. It's a cliff that's overlooking the Kentucky River about a quarter mile away. So, I mean, it's the same story. An Indian girl takes a leap after finding out her lover passed away, so wanted to join them.
But hey, we're not talking about sadness. This is a place of celebration
That's right.
and wine,
Yeah,
right? We've got some tiny grapes here starting to form. What's growing here and how much of it's growing? This is a pretty expansive vineyard you got.
Yeah, we're one of the largest producers in Kentucky. We have a lot of different varietals out here, which makes us pretty unique. This one is an American plant called Norton. We've probably got more of that planted than most of the other vineyards in Kentucky too. You have to pay attention to it. The pruning portion of the job is critical, so you got to get finished with it in time. You don't want to leave too many buds or on the vines to give them, because you'll have to go back through and you have to prune back with overgrowth. So you want to be protected just in case you get those late frosts, but it's a guess. And a lot of times Mother Nature throws you a curveball at the end, and we've had those years where we've had to overcome that stuff.
So you want to go inside and check out how these things all, once they're grown to full capacity, what happens to them?
Yeah, this is where the work is, and you get to taste the benefits and rewards. So
let's go check it out.
Come on in.
Brian number 2, right?
Right.
2 Brians out here. That's a lot of Brians. But you're the Brian that's in charge of making the vino, right?
Correct. I lead the winemaking team. We work together as a team.
So right now we're standing in a place where I assume some of that process has happened. We've got our little baby grapes out there now that have grown into big adults, jumped in a big wooden barrel with your team, stomped them all into juice, and now you've poured them into these giant fancy containers. Tell me how this process works.
Well, we don't stomp. We use a bladder press, nice and clean. So for whites, we press right away and bring the juice into here and let it cold soak for a little while, and then we'll start the fermentation. Reds we'll just crush, put in the fermenter and pitch the yeast and start the fermentation there. The other things that are done in here are cold stabilization. Like this tank here is cold stabilizing the wine. We're dropping tartaric acid out of the wine to a certain temperature so that a customer could refrigerate that wine and it not drop crystals in the bottle.
What are the challenges that you see that you have to deal with as far as the juice and processing and creating it at that point?
Protecting the juice from oxygen. So we're actively trying to keep the juice from degrading in quality due to oxygen exposure.
Now you want a wine to breathe though, right?
Yeah, most wines benefit from breathing.
But if it breathes too much, if it's open for too long, that's where you get...
It starts to degrade.
Yeah, it'll degrade. So when you open a bottle of wine, it's important to drink it all really quickly. That said, maybe we should go open a bottle of wine.
Sounds good to me.
Let's go check it out.
Okay, let's go.
Fantastic. This is the place to be. This would be the tasting room, I assume, at Lover's Leap. How are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you? Welcome.
So, you know, I've been to a couple of wineries in my life and done some tastings, and they always have like a certain process, a certain order in the way that they let you taste their wines. Tell me about what yours is here at Lover's Leap, and why is there a specific process for how you taste wines as far as the different varieties?
Well, the way we do it here, we definitely want to start whites before you go reds. You want to start high on the list before you go down the list. That is done because of the way the wine sets up in your mouth or the sweet level of it. So we want you to ease in or ease out. We'll start with your dry, and we'll work you into your sweet. Once we have you sweet, we'll keep you there, and then we'll work you back out. It's your tasting. We'll take you on your journey on how you want to go. But if you want to step outside your box, we'll be more than welcome to send you outside of it.
And do you make fun of people when they do that a lot?
No, because we make all kinds of wine, and there's all kinds of drinkers. So if you're depending on where you are on the tasting ladder, we will make sure that there's a rung for you.
Well, Easton, thanks for meeting me today.
Hey, no problem. I'm glad to be here.
Awesome. What are we taking out today?
So today we have some Emotion kayaks. These are pretty affordable. This is actually a sit-on kayak. So you're sitting actually like you're a little more on top of the boat than a traditional, you got to get down in a kayak. So yeah, these are very easy to paddle. They turn really well, and it doesn't take a whole lot to get moving, especially if the wind's blowing.
Great. Well, we got our life jackets on. You got us all set. The only thing I need is my fishing license,
You've got what you need. Yep, you're ready to go. And I got some bait, so we're good.
Awesome. Well, let's go do some fishing. Easton, tell me a little bit about the boats we're on today.
The idea behind this is to get young people that maybe aren't as excited to go learn how to fish on the bank. We can get them in a boat and get them out. That's an experience in and of itself.
Great. Well, what do you fish for here on Beaver Lake? Tell me what we're going to be fishing for today.
So we've got 2 setups. One that we're going to try to catch some bass on. If that doesn't work, we'll bring out some night crawlers and try to catch some bluegill.
Sounds good. You want to go ahead and cast a line?
Yeah, let's do it.
Awesome. Now tell me what you're throwing there.
So I'm throwing one of the oldest tricks in the book. It's just a 7-inch power worm. When you move it through the water, the tail kind of creates a little motion. And usually you can catch quite a few on if you get them biting it.
This is your second bait of the day?
Yep, that's the bluegill go-to. So
Okay.
hopefully if the bass aren't going to cooperate, we can at least catch a few bluegill.
All right. I'm gonna put a big old night crawler on here.
So if you're fishing for a bluegill or a panfish, you have to keep in mind that their mouth is extremely small. So if you put too much bait on a hook, the fish is going to be able to come up, basically eat everything but the hook.
Okay, so this is wrong. How do I put a worm on a hook?
That gives you a little less for them to pick at. And we didn't leave too much hanging off, so if you just hook it once, you leave the whole worm hanging off, they can come up and eat everything and just leave you with a little piece.
All right, awesome. So where is the best place to cast for some bluegill?
Anywhere around structure. I think there's actually one swimming right here.
Oh, you can
So you can see a
spot
rock.
'em.
You can see a rock under the water. Up on the banks right now, they're up feeding. Anywhere around some trees over here, up around that dock's pretty shallow, but you might be able to find one up there.
So I've got a rod and a reel in my hand here with a bobber and a sinker
Yes, and a night crawler.
and a night crawler. Okay, how would you teach me to cast if I'd never done this before?
So with that reel, you're gonna grab the line with your finger,
Okay,
just like that. And it might be easier to turn your hand a little bit towards me.
okay,
If you put your middle finger on top of that reel, so do like this.
like this? Okay,
Yep. Now put the reel where the reel connects to the rod.
okay,
Put that right in the middle of your fingers. There you
okay,
go. Now you can grab the line with your first finger.
okay,
Yep. Grab and hold it and flip your bail.
okay.
Go behind your head. Make sure nobody's around you. Watch out for trees. And as you come forward, about the time you get past your ear, between your ear and your eye, you're gonna let go of that. And then when it hits the water, you're gonna flip it back over and start reeling.
Awesome. What's the typical size of a bluegill that I might catch?
They can get up to 12 and 13 inches, but typical about the size of your hand.
Well, I think this is a great way to spend a day.
It's beautiful, and it's, even if the fish aren't biting, you're still out, you're getting exercise, you're out soaking up the sun, enjoying the day.
Hey, Kyle, slow down here. Before you sample this, how about I take you down to the lab and show you how we handcraft our different bourbons?
Okay. We need more of this, so let's go see how it's
show ya.
made and, all that fun stuff. I love
Follow me
labs
this way.
and science, by the way. How did you get into this serious business of making bourbon?
There's art, there's science, but I got in from the science aspect. My background's in chemistry.
That makes sense.
And I grew up in Kentucky, so I've always known about bourbon. It's always been part of our culture, our heritage here.
Right.
So, but I never really dreamt I could get a job in the industry. Came up here and I took a tour of a distillery and I thought, I bet they could use a chemist. So that very weekend when I got home, I got online and I found this job. Not the job I'm doing now, but a job coming in as a quality manager. And I applied a few months, or just about a month later, I was up here working.
Wow, so there you go, folks. Come take a tour. Next thing you know, you can be the master distiller at a bourbon distillery in Kentucky. Good to know, good to know. There's a pretty big history here with Four Roses.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's been around for a while. Where did it come from? How did it start?
Yeah, the brand actually began back in the 1880s down in Georgia.
In Georgia?
In Georgia, yeah.
Okay.
Our founder, Paul Jones Jr., he began the company down in Atlanta. And then in the 1880s, he moved up to Louisville, Kentucky. And the brand was trademarked in 1888 in Louisville, Kentucky. The brand has been in existence since then, nonstop. Even through Prohibition, the brand existed. For medicinal purposes only.
Interesting. All right.
So, but yeah, we were here up to and through Prohibition. And then after Prohibition, the brand became one of the top selling, if not the top selling bourbon in the U.S. What we do here is we produce 10 different bourbon recipes. Now, I don't mean 10 different bourbon labels. We have our Four Roses Bourbon, our small batch, and our single barrel. But if you taste each one of those products, each one is distinctly different from the next because of the way we do things. We have 2 mash bills, or grain recipes that we use. So we start out with 2 bases, 2 different recipes, and then we have 5 different yeast strains that we use to ferment those mashes. Each one of these yeast strains creates different flavors through fermentation. But in this lab right here, this is the sensory lab. This is where we have a lot of fun here. This is where we look at barrels, batches, evaluate the quality of everything we have in our warehouses to make sure that when we pull those samples and make our various products, they're consistent, they smell and taste the way they're supposed to. Each one of those samples
Is a different barrel.
is a different barrel.
Each one of these is a different barrel.
Yeah, when dumped, each one of those will represent about 150, 750 milliliter bottles.
I mean, this is a lot. I mean, I assume you have to drink this every day.
Contrary to what a lot of people believe, it's not a lot of tasting. When you're looking at mini samples like this, it's a lot better, safer, and easier to smell. There are 9 of us on the sensory panel, and that particular board is just to approve the daily distillate as it comes off the still. Members of the panel have to come and smell it, approve it. If it doesn't get approved, it doesn't go into the barrel.
So you got any finished product we can maybe check out?
Yeah, I got a place we can go. Follow me this way.
So, how do I get my name on that tasting board thing there? That's
Oh, I'm sorry, there's no room on the tasting panel.
really.
So Kyle, this is where the 10 recipes I was just telling you about, this is where it all comes together. As I said, we use the recipes to create different products. This product uses up to all 10 of the recipes. This is always the same 4 recipes. And this, our single barrel, is 1 recipe. And by using those different recipes, we can create fundamentally different bourbons. And that's what we can taste up here.
10, 4, 1.
Exactly. And we go 80, 90, 100 proof. And we go up in age as we go from this side to this also. This is at least 5 years old, this is at least 6, this is 7, 8, 9 years old.
So we talked a little bit about your history and how this all came to be. What's going on in the future? I know there's some expansion happening. What are you guys doing moving forward for the
growth has been the growth has been so out of control, so crazy for the last 5-10 years, mostly here in the United States, that to react to that, we're having to expand. So you probably saw out there, we're doubling our capacity.
Double?
So we're in the middle of a big construction project. Yeah, double, just for the U.S. market.
Brent, I appreciate everything. Wait. You know what? Hold on. You know, I got this riddle thing at the beginning of the show I got to figure out.
Okay.
And it's something about medicine and a cure and history. I don't know what that has to do with Four Roses or even Lawrenceburg for that matter, but do you know anything about some kind of special medicine from way back in the day or something with history?
I think I could help you out with that. You're very warm.
It's somewhere around here.
You're very close.
All right. Well, you know what? I'm going to go check that out.
Good luck.
Get with Carrie. I appreciate it, Brent. It's been an absolute
Cheers. It's a pleasure.
joy.
Thanks
Four
for coming
Roses.
out.
I'm going to go find that stuff, whatever it is. We are here downtown Lawrenceburg, Kentucky, right on Main Street, and it just so happens we've come across a classic car show. This is something that happens once a month. Pretty cool. I'm gonna meet up with Carrie, find out how her day went, but I think we're gonna take a look at a few of these cars, because this is some pretty rare stuff. Let's check it out. All right, Terry, so here we are downtown Lawrenceburg. What exactly is happening all around us tonight?
We've been having a cruise in down here for 18 years on Main Street in Lawrenceburg. Wheels of Time Car Club has been in existence for 25 years.
Fantastic. And these cars you got here have been in existence a lot longer than that.
Yes,
Well,
sir.
you got a little bit of something up.
We
Everything
got a
going on.
1958 Chevy Impala owned by Bert Hahn.
And you got a brand new Corvette. Pretty new Corvette right there.
yeah.
We're downtown. This is Americana at its best. You know, this is small town. We're in Kentucky. We're in Lawrenceburg. And you got everybody in the community coming out to check this out, to visit these stores. Tell me about Lawrenceburg and why this is such a cool small town here.
Well, I was born and raised in Lawrenceburg. When I was growing up, we used to come down on Main Street here with my parents and sit on the afternoon and watch people go by in their cars. We're just repeating that as old as we got and stuff like that.
Just bringing it back.
Bringing it back, yes.
And why is that important for a community to get, events like this and kind of just bring people out? It's a beautiful night. I mean, why is that a big deal here?
Well, if you notice, we've got a lot of stores that are still open. We've got several restaurants. That brings in a whole lot of money for the community. If they're not eating, drinking, or they're always buying gas.
Yeah, I can tell they're probably buying a lot of gas. You could not have a more perfect evening for a car show in a very cool downtown Lawrenceburg, Kentucky. Terry, it's been a pleasure, man.
All right, thank you.
Hey, Kyle.
Well, hello there, Carrie. How are you doing?
Good. Did you have a good day?
You know, it was a pretty great day. How about you? Did you go out there and do a little paddling?
Well, after our leap, I had to do a little bit of fishing.
Fishing, did you?
Yeah, I tried to catch a beaver bass.
Beaver bass? Did you bring me a beaver bass?
I did not.
That's sad.
No. What about you? Did you do any more leaping?
I didn't do any more leaping, but I did lovers leap it out there at the vineyard and learned about some really cool varieties that they're growing and maybe tried one or two.
I took a lovely paddle on the Salt River with Master Distiller Brent Elliott.
I actually also hung out with Mr. Brent Elliott, Master Distiller Four Roses, and I did figure out the challenge. Yep. In fact, the medicine is Four Roses Bourbon because they were allowed to produce bourbon during Prohibition, and if you had a prescription, you could purchase it. And I found the bottle with the prescription on it right there.
All right, Kyle.
So, I think that's it for this particular episode. This is a pretty nice town, though.
This is a great town. This is a nice slice of Americana.
Check out Lawrenceburg, right? I mean,
it's a great
cool.
small town.
And until next time,
we'll see you downstream.